Welcome to Mission Spooky. I'm your wonderful host, JC, and with me is the pretty okay Kiki, as per usual. How you doing today, Kiki?
I'm just peachy.
I thought your name was Kiki.
Hey, happy Yule, asshole.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I wish everyone a happy whatever holiday you wish to have celebrated. This past maybe 2 weeks, we took our time off because, family's important.
Family is fun. It was a lot of fun. Little man had a great time. This was his first year actually understanding what it meant to open presents.
Nice.
And I asked him, did he want to call it Yule or Christmas? Because I'm giving him the option. And he said, Christmas.
Nice. Other news, just so people understand, because we are a little nerdy here at Mission Spooky. They're not mainstream, so you might not have heard them, but there's a movie and a show that are deal with the Star Wars universe. By the time this comes out, The Mandalorian, which is on Disney Plus, should be done. Is done. When we're recording this, it's actually already done, and I already watched the last episode, and it was fantastic. The Rise of Skywalker, also fantastic. Loved both. All of it. Loved it. If you want to fight me, feel free. But remember, I've challenged gods to fights on daily basis, and those pansies won't come up to me. So, feel free to attempt to fight somebody even the gods are scared of. Or the gods just don't exist. One of the two.
I feel like either way you win that scenario.
Yeah. Because I'm a winner. But for more wonderful reviews about The Mandalorian and other such Star Wars and pop culture movie-esque stuff, I'm going to recommend a podcast I sometimes guest on called Gizmo's Corner. It's on all the places you get your podcast. It's hosted by my friend, my dearest, most beautiful friend, Rob. Sometimes I could just stare into his eyes for long moments and just imagine chopping his head off and wearing it as a hat.
That's a friendship. Yes, Gizmo's Corner, absolutely. Hopefully we'll be doing something with him in the future too. We don't know. That'd be kind of cool. So I know, completely aside, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Great.
Right?
Yeah. Fantastic.
Like seriously, I had almost zero complaints.
There were a few things, but nothing that is like what people are complaining about on the internet. Those are not my issues. Yeah, I just loved the whole movie. Beginning to end, I loved it.
When certain individuals on social media claim to understand what pacing in a movie actually means, really pisses me off because I don't think they understood it. Someone said, oh, it was too much. It went too fast. There was too many plot lines. There was too much going on. Okay, so I wasn't drunk or high when I went to see the movie. Mm-hmm. And I was able to follow along perfectly well.
Yep, same.
And more than halfway through the movie, I kept thinking to myself, what is the problem here? Like, it's going very well. If they're holding my attention with the multiple plot lines. And I'm a relatively smart individual. At least I think so. So I was able to hold it together and, not get confused. And of course, I find that a lot of the same haters of this are also people complaining about Game of Thrones, for example, and also complaining that there were too many characters in Game of Thrones. And I'm like, well,
first off, read the books. Because there's 10 times the amount of characters. And he'll have a book in freaking the chapter 3 of book 1. And you don't hear about that character. No, this is a JC rant. This is what's going on. He'll have a character in chapter 3 of book 1 that doesn't get even talked about until chapter 6 of book 5, and you're just expected to know everything about this guy and who he was, and oh my god, it blows my mind. Martin, you fucking genius. Oh, I love him. Get Martin. Finish. Don't rush, but also kind of rush, but don't rush. Don't ruin it by rushing, but also I need that content. So don't die. Yeah, don't die, please. I love you too much. I'll give you my life force.
Well, I also feel like those people who complain about things like that, not being able to keep up, do not read books. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. Read a goddamn book, man.
Yeah. The books are way more intense. But yeah. So you might be asking, hey, why are they reviewing all these things today? Well, that's because we're going to be doing a review of the Season 1 Hellier, which is an Amazon Prime original series that's streaming on Amazon Prime. If you have a Prime account, Amazon #sponsor us. But if you have a Prime account, you go watch it. It's really good. I'm just going to give it a grade of good.
We're just going to grade it immediately?
No, all of Amazon Prime.
Not
Hellier, just all of Amazon Prime. I was a little
confused. Okay, so oddly enough, I did know who Dana and Greg were because I had started following them when we first started Mission Spooky. It kept coming up with the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult. This kept coming up over and over and over again. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know much about this. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really tuned into, what is it, Planet Weird? That's attached to that as well.
I believe that's true.
Okay. And so it just sort of like kept popping up, the hashtag, and then it kept popping up to watch on Amazon Prime. So finally I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And what I liked was when I was posting as Mission Spooky and I was like, hashtag Hellier, looks like I'm going to have to binge watch this. And like the first person who liked it was Greg Newkirk. And I thought, okay, maybe it's a bot, right? People just, every time there's a hashtag Hellier, boom, someone's liking it. Mm-hmm. But later, Greg had posted that he made these little Lego figures during season 2, which I have not finished, so we're going to be doing season 2 in a couple episodes from now. We'll do our review on that too. But he was like, I made these Lego figures, and I had written this whole thing about how he found his true passion, his true calling during season 2 of Hellier, and that he now lived he lived with his lovely wife Dana, in I think I chose Maine, on their estate with their 6 cats and their goat named Lucifer.
Nice.
Lucy for short. And again, I got a response, and it was Greg, and he said, that actually sounds pretty nice. So I thought, that's a real person. Maybe it's not actually him. Who knows? But if it is, I think that's really cool that they're very engaging. And Instagram, they're engaging as well. At least Dana is too.
Yeah.
So kudos to them for that. And then Connor and Carl, I didn't know anything about them until I started watching the show.
Same. I knew nothing about any of the people until I started watching the show. So, the premise of Hellier, now this is an overall theme, is high strangeness in a investigation of the goblins in this town of Hellier in Kentucky. There's weirdness from the beginning. From moment 0, there's some weird stuff going on, and it takes them a little bit to get involved, and then once they do, more weirdness it's high strangeness, which high strangeness in the paranormal world is a conspiracy or manipulation from a power that is not human. That's how I perceive the terms high strangeness, where people are having their personal experiences, but there's a bigger overall arcing theme and message that's being displayed, and now you have to go and try and piece it all together. High strangeness is very complicated, and I don't like it. I just like ghosts and Bigfoots and the squonk. That's what I like. I like to keep it simple.
So let's talk a little bit about Synchronicities, because without spoiling it, we'll kind of do a no spoiler-esque review here. It's a huge part of what they're going through.
Yes. Why don't you, because I have my issues with the word synchronicity, with that whole mindset, with the whole thing. I have issues with the entirety of it. Why don't you explain what synchronicities are?
Synchro mysticism. That's a big word. It was coined in 2006 by Jake Coates, or Coates or Cots. I'm not really sure how. I think it's probably Cots. And he labels it as the art of realizing meaningful coincidences in the seemingly mundane with mystical or esoteric significance. Now, I would have called these, previous to learning about what synchro mysticism was, I would have said that I look at certain coincidences as being meaningful and looking at it like a sign in a particular direction. For example, about 2 weeks ago, I had a very vivid dream about going to the King George Inn in Allentown. Now, it's a haunted location that JC and I had talked about possibly doing. And so, sure, it was in my brain. Absolutely. But here's the thing. I've never been inside there. My vision, my dream was based on, I think it was actually ghost hunters who'd gone in there. So I knew what the interior looked like. So as me inside and JC was there, you were there, it was totally based on the interior looking like I remember it from the TV show. No big deal. It was like we were doing a ghost hunting thing there. It was pretty cool. Anyway, a couple days later, I have a guest come to the house and we get talking. I've never met this person before in my life. It was a very organic conversation that led to, hey, I do a podcast and it might be kind of crazy, but we talk about like some spooky stuff, ghost stories from Bucks County and Lehigh County. And she goes, oh, that's really cool. And then a few minutes later, we're talking about the fact that both of us have been in the restaurant industry. I used to be a cook. She's like, oh, really? Where'd you work at? Oh, I worked here, here, and here. Oh, that's great. I used to work at the King George Inn. And I'm like, get the fuck out, right? Like, what are the odds? And then she proceeds to tell me her ghost story, one in particular that scared the shit out of her. And then was like, feel free to share this with everybody. So when we do our podcast on the King George Inn, she's given us permission to tell that story. And she went on to give me other contacts of people who may have stories too. So that to me is a very meaningful coincidence that there's no way that was, what are the odds of that happening?
They're very low, but that doesn't mean there's a bigger thing at play or that it's anything more than a coincidence. I love being a Debbie Downer, guys. Ooh, golly. Negative Nancy's my middle name.
It's a meaningful coincidence.
I guess it's meaningful to you.
That's the whole point.
To me too, but it's not like, I don't know. I'm still not sold. Your story's an okay one. Some of the things that happen in Hellier, I think, are tough to say that they're meaningful. I think they're interesting. I don't know how meaningful they are.
Okay, so we were talking about that when certain things happened to them, and they are talking about them being synchronicities. And you had mentioned that it feels like it's not 100% on point because they've already been reading XYZ or they've already been listening to XYZ.
They're basically setting up the fact that they have a higher chance of quote-unquote synchronicities happening. For instance, where they're going is Hellier, Kentucky, which is about an hour to two from Point Pleasant, where the Mothman prophecies happened. So on their way down, they listened to an audio recording of the Mothman prophecies written by that one guy. I'm really bad with names, please. I know he's famous. I know that I should know his name. They said it like 100 times in the Hellier show. I'm just a piece of garbage. I'm really bad with names. So they're listening to this, and all of a sudden, as they're listening to it, it gives them like kind of clues or hints to some of the emails that they received about the events that were going on. And I'm like, that is very interesting. And they're like, what are the odds that we'd be listening to that tape and that blah, blah, blah? I'm like, pretty high. You guys are into spooky crap. You're going to a place that's near this incredibly famous, well-documented paranormal event. That's why you chose to listen to that. It just doesn't feel like it's special.
Okay, so first of all, Point Pleasant is in West Virginia.
Born and raised.
And the name of the author of the 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, is John Keel.
Ooh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, John Keel. What a good guy. Oh, what a hero. John Keel.
That is why I'm in charge of research.
It sure is.
Okay, so wait, let me go back to synchromysticism, because part of this talks about it's okay to have preconceived notions. It's okay to be thinking about X, Y, and Z, because ultimately, that's how you make things happen further. So it's almost as if I have King George in on my brain, because it's one we want to do. Mm-hmm. And I, in a chaotic, magical sort of way, managed to get this woman in my midst so I could talk to her about her experiences. And that's one way to look at it. Like, I'm making it happen because the power of intent. I'm intending to write about that place, and everything that I'm doing then is bringing the right people into play. That's one way to look at it.
I just want our audience, our listeners to know, just to set a picture for you. I'm sitting here with my arms crossed and a very sour face. Like, I'm realizing anything Kiki says right now, I'm taking negatively because I want to. And I don't like the fact that I am this way, but it's who I am, and I'm a beautiful person. So, obviously, this is the way I'm supposed to be.
No, that's fine. That's fine that you're skeptical.
Yes, I'm very skeptical of a lot of things, which makes me be very cautious with jumping to there's magic at play. Because that's kind of what this feels like. Like, there's some kind of universal magic, not witchy magic, but like chaos magic is happening here. And well, then what's controlling that? Like, what's happening to influence these things? How is this? I don't like it because
you don't like it because you can't do it.
Oh no, I could totally. If I set my mind to it, I could be the best magician. And let me explain why. It's all made up, but
magic. Look, magic is just another force energy. Mm-hmm. It's scientific. It's not made up BS. We talked about this. Chaos magic is simply the ability to add order and control to your life. Chaos magicians order things. Ritualistic magicians or magic users are usually people who are not very organized, so they need the structure of a ritual in order to produce a result. That's not how I work.
If I may, am I a chaos magician because I ordered dominoes?
Are you very good at organizing things?
No.
Wow, that was such a long pause for dramatic effect.
I had to think about it, and let me explain. Here's what made me say no. I play Minecraft because I am an adult child. My chests in Minecraft are chaos right now. They are purely unorganized chaos. That is what made me, like, I thought of that, and I'm like, nope, definitely not.
Okay, so in opposite fashion, in Skyrim, okay, my Skyrim houses and chests, it's ridiculous. It's so organized. One time I spent 5 hours reorganizing just my chests, and my husband was like, are you ever going to leave the houses and like kill anything? And I'm like, not until this is done, because I have new weapons. I had bought a new house and decided that that house was going to be my food house. Not to mention, of course, we've all done this to play Skyrim. The house where the Thieves Guild is. Riften. My house in Riften was just take these, giant wheels of cheese and just throw them into a room until finally the room was just covered in cheese. It was fantastic. God, I love that game. Anyway, so yes, I'm highly organized.
So yeah, chaos I don't like to jump to these things, but maybe it's all more part of the high strangeness. Perhaps the creature or the entity that's controlling and manipulating them is also manipulating facts around them, which would then take away the coincidence, because it's no longer a coincidence they're running into these. They're being manipulated to run into these events and to these pieces of information. It's no longer a coincidence.
Notice the definition of synchromysticism is the art of realizing meaningful coincidence in the seemingly mundane with mystical or esoteric significance.
But there's still coincidence in there. If you take that out, it's no longer okay. But so a coincidence is just like happen chance. It would be different if it's manipulated by a higher power, because it's no longer a coincidence. We're just pawns on a chessboard. There's no longer randomness to it, which it's all planned, and it all has to happen this way because a a higher power of some sort. I'm not saying a god, but an entity we don't totally understand, or a group of entities we don't totally understand, are manipulating us and our environments, which takes coincidence out.
So, but to you then, it
appears to be coincidence, but it's not.
Yeah, but then somebody could say that, like, once again, we're bringing that to us. The entity is speaking to us because we are open to it. Therefore, we are the ones who are creating the coincidence.
I don't like that. That doesn't sound right to me. It's still...
You mean it doesn't fit into your non-synchronicity life?
Look, I'm not saying I don't believe in synchronicities. I don't believe that because they have 7 synchronicities per freaking episode, and I swear they get paid every time they say the word synchronicity. So maybe I developed a little bit of a hatred for the word synchronicity.
Is that a downer for you for the episodes? Is that they do actually say the word synchronicity a lot?
Like
as in,
a lot.
How many times have we said it? Hey, spooksters, take note. How many times? Write it down. Go back, listen to this again. Write it down. Okay, and then...
Tell us how many times we said it.
Yeah, we're going to pay ourselves every time we said it.
Yeah, we're going to pay ourselves with high fives and pats on the back. Okay. But yeah, let's review this thing.
So rather than do a episode by episode review, I was going to touch on a few things that I noticed overall without giving any major spoilers away. And things that I really liked. And honestly, there was only one thing that I didn't like. So who knows? Maybe if Greg and Dana are listening, I would love to know the reason why they had such a very difficult time trying to find a particular house that they needed to find.
Yeah, that was my big dislike as well. Because they spent maybe 2 episodes kind of looking for the house and the original contact person. And I'm just like, why don't you just look for deed changeovers?
So, because I have friends in many different walks of life, I had posed the question on my personal page to any of my realtor friends with a scenario. I said, this is a totally fake scenario. I just want to know if it's possible. I was like, let's say that my best friend, she bought a house and she's moved out of state. And before she has a chance to give me the address of her home, she disappears off the face of the planet. Is there a way that I could go to a local realtor and ask them for a list of houses or properties that were sold in the last year or 2, right?
Or between a time period.
Yes. Even though I don't have the address, I have a photograph that she sent me that shows me part of the front lawn or the backyard, so I could sort of know what it kind of looks like from the outside, right? And I found out from my realtor friend that is absolutely doable. It is called a comp analysis. So in the future, if anybody needs to find a house and you're not sure who the owner is. Now, I know that something that they mentioned was if the property is handed down and it's not actually purchased, then it becomes very difficult to find it. So that's possible. But honestly, I found houses on Zillow that were still up there that should have been taken down. My friend's property was still listed as for sale, even though she had taken it off the market. But honestly, in a place that seems as small as Hellier, it would be like should have been pretty easy to find it. That was my only complaint, honestly, with the whole thing.
Same.
Other than some editing issues where I feel like some of the episodes went on a little bit too long, saying the same thing over and over again.
I also agree with that.
Another thing that struck me was when they were in the tunnel.
Okay.
In one of the episodes. And I think it was Greg who mentioned that they felt like no one had been there for a long time because there wasn't a whole bunch of garbage. There wasn't graffiti even on the walls. This is another one of those things that was just weird. For some reason, that triggered me. And I was like... Right? Hashtag triggered. But I was like, wait, graffiti on walls in a tunnel. Where have I seen that before? I'd completely forgotten that I'd walked the abandoned rail tunnel in Percy.
Okay.
Years ago. And I went back and looked at pictures of it. And sure enough, like, because so many people know it's there, people travel in it all the time. We could go like right now. There's probably people hanging out, even if it's cold outside. There is a ton of graffiti there. There is, unfortunately... garbage there, even in the photographs taken from this past summer.
Yeah.
So I did then agree with it, because first of all, people might say, oh, how do you know it's abandoned, or how do you know no one's really been there? Well, Percy Rail Tunnel is a perfect example of a rail tunnel that is in use constantly, even though it is abandoned. People walk it all the time.
There was a cave in my hometown, and I had gone down into it a few times with some friends, and it wasn't super difficult to get to. Yeah, there was graffiti, there was trash, there was, like, if people know that something, they're gonna go there. Like, this place, like, I have to agree with Kiki, and I'm very skeptical of a lot of things.
The reason that we mention that is because then something, and I said I'm not going to give it away, but something is there, which really shouldn't be there, given the fact that it seems pretty abandoned.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this in another episode. One of our first ones talking about just paranormal stuff in general is the trusting and wanting to believe that said item was not planted for dramatic effect, since this is a documentary, people are getting paid, and there has to be, entertainment value as well.
And it's not just like a one-off documentary. It's a series. Like, it's a season by they've recently released season 2. So it's something they're obviously wanting to continue. So their integrity should always, in my mind, it should always be in question. And I'm not saying that I think Greg or Dana or anyone involved are bad people. It's just me as a listener or a viewer, I should be skeptical of all of their motivations. I feel that I currently trust them. I don't have any evidence to support them misleading me.
The reaction to what is there seemed really genuine. Like,
yeah,
holy shit balls, like what the fuck. So there's a degree of acting skill involved in that, if it is acting. So I'm gonna say I'm going with, I have absolutely no reason to distrust them or think that anything was planted, because I know that has come up on. Look, all I'm gonna say is there was a dude on Twitter who hate watched this show. 15 hours of this show, hate watched it just to bitch about it, and then that is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a little intense, but mind you, I kind of also get it. No. I'm not saying I've ever done that, because that seems really obnoxious, but I also get it. I get that, like, why are these guys doing this? But at least he went into it informed, At least he didn't watch 5 minutes of episode 1 and be like, this show's shit and here's why. No, he watched the whole thing, and while his arguments weren't the best, some would say they were flawed.
This guy was supposed to be another paranormal researcher and into like conspiracies and everything else. So you would think that they would go into that with much brighter eyes than the darkness of the soul that was like, I'm going to watch the rest of this and I'm going to fucking bitch about it on Twitter because I'm an asshole.
I almost wonder if he was like jealous.
Right?
That of their quote-unquote success, because it's not like, they're living the high life now. It's just a documentary on Amazon Prime. But, it's still a documentary on Amazon Prime. They got paid money for that. So it could be somebody that's just upset with their success, and, I feel you should always be joyous of other people, especially in the paranormal and conspiracy community. You should always be joyous when they're successful. Why you got hate?
Exactly. So leading into the next thing is that this show has brought out a lot of reading material and people talking about things that haven't really been talked about. The Ganzfeld Experiment being another one, where it's sensory deprivation. Like I've said to you, I'm really good at sensory deprivation without all that stuff because I was trained in how to do it.
Yeah, you're a Jedi Master. I get it.
So for those of you who don't know what the Ganzfeld Experiment is, your eyes are covered. Well, the way that they did it was their eyes were covered with ping pongs, and then they put the earphones on with white noise. And so you're not seeing anything and you're not hearing anything inside the area that they happen to be inside the tunnel at the time. But the true Ganzfeld experiment would also have them being inside like a pod and floating in water. So you have no feeling, no hearing, no sight, no smell. So you get the idea. It was a little down and dirty way to do it. Yeah. And I get that's fine.
It's a field test. The idea is, though, you're still removing two major sensory inputs. So your other senses, hopefully the sixth sense, is heightened enough for, if there is an entity around you, enough for you as an untrained person to possibly pick up on said entity and interpret things that they might be sending out. That's the kind of premise. You should never, and I just want to put this out here as a little PSA, never do this experiment by yourself or with anyone you do not completely trust. Because you do not currently hear or see anything going on around you, which does put you in a dangerous position.
Right, and then that one, it was Greg doing it, and Dana was his kind of partner also, and of course they're married, which doesn't necessarily mean that he was safe. I mean, if he hasn't taken the garbage out, he hasn't
washed the dishes,
hasn't taken the cat litter out, I'm just saying.
Some lovely cats.
And then another part of that was Connor then doing the ghost box.
It was a ghost box
session. But I feel like because, and this is where we talk about preconceived notions popping into your head, because Connor already heard what Greg had said or what Greg was talking about. And then I feel like that ghost box session might have been a little bit skewed. It would have been interesting if Greg was in further down the tunnel with Dana and doing the Ganzfeld experiment at the same time that Connor was doing his experiment and with then Carl, and had Carl, right? So, but again, that's just a suggestion. But I like the experimentation part of that.
Yeah. The thing I kind of question is all of them are very into this stuff. So it's like, is he searching for keywords? Like I don't know. This is where you have to like take the integrity of them into question, because is he searching for keywords? They don't they don't record the audio from the ghost box. Only Connor's hearing it. So we, as viewers or listeners, don't get to also listen to it. So how do we know that Connor's hearing what he's saying he's hearing? That would be my critique. Like, if they could somehow put the audio from the ghost box on the screen or have it play during the documentary, that would totally alleviate me and my skepticism of the situation.
I agree with you on that. I had a little conversation with the guy who runs Paranormal Resident, which you can find on YouTube, Paranormal Adventures of Ireland's Most Haunted Locations. I like his setup because he does do that. He lets you hear the ghost box and he'll play it back about 3 times, so you can also make that decision for yourself too. Are you hearing the same thing? Just want to give him a shout out too, because that's good stuff, and he does a lot of things during the daytime and gets a lot of hits even during the day. Like stuff that you can really hear, no doubt. So very cool. You don't have to do ghost hunting just at night, I guess is my thing. Something else that Dana had mentioned about being inside the tunnel is that they'd gotten used to the sounds of the cave, and so they kind of knew what was strange and what wasn't. That's criminal investigation even. We're taught what is the behavior of the victim. Anything out of the norm of that is what you're looking for. It's very similar when you're going on any kind of investigation. If you're doing it in the woods like they were out in the mountains, you need to familiarize yourself with the sounds even in the city. What does machinery sound like? What does this house sound like? Like, get a baseline feel before you even start doing your paranormal investigation. And another big one for me is people who put stuff on YouTube and they're like, "Did you hear this sound, this wailing sound? It sounds like a woman crying." And I'm like, that is a fox. Just go on YouTube and listen to animals in the areas. We got a screech owl that's not too far from here. It's a little unnerving when you go to walk the dogs at midnight and you hear that thing going off, but you know that's my screech owl. When the squirrels are rutting, they run all over the place and they make a lot of noise and they're yelling at each other. So just good investigative work. Get to know your area and what everything sounds like before you even start.
Or at least have a local expert. Or especially like Bigfoot shows. They're like, yeah, we're here in whatever town. Here's the local major hunter in this town. His name's Bob. I don't know why I'm making this sound like all Bigfoot hunters are rednecks, but most of them...
No. Okay, this is where I'm going to give another shout out to my best friend, Jack. Okay. Jack is most definitely not someone that I would consider to be a quote-unquote redneck. Does Jack have guns? Yes.
Okay.
But is Jack also a giant nerd like us? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Okay, right.
You can be a redneck nerd.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't even... Well, no, he does have a pickup truck. Damn it. Kind of not making this easy. But anyway, my point is that Jack and I have talked about trying to find Bigfoot for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
so
just saying,
we had it all figured out too. We need a lot of people, a lot of volunteers. And my idea was to treat the northwest woods of wherever, Canada. I don't know where they mostly hang out. Let's just say Canada. Why not? Permission granted, Canada? ? And you lay it out like a crime scene, box by box. Mm-hmm. And then you have some, like, a group in every box. I'm talking we're going to need, like, thousands of people, okay? So.
Yeah, and on top of that, why don't we get some drones into this? Yes, like military-grade drones. Not even those, like, little homemade, no. Military-grade or GTFO. We need some... We
infrared
those,
cameras.
Like, the what? Infrared? Yeah.
Infrared cameras. Heat-seeking missiles. I want it all.
Whoa. We're not trying to wage war on Bigfoot now, okay? We don't need heat-seeking missiles. Thousands will die, Kiki. Because the Bigfoots will have to retaliate.
That was our fun little Bigfoot tangent. Why not? Apparently, some people had issue with Dana using tarot cards in this.
I had no issues with it, but I also completely didn't give a shit about it. I don't understand, nor do I care about tarot cards. To me, it seems like it's all nonsense, magic, hokey pokey, witchy, crafty stuff. Which, if you believe in it, hey, that's cool, and that's really good. I don't, and I don't think I should have to. I'm not going to attack you for your beliefs, but I'm going to attack your beliefs.
Oh my god.
I'm going to state my opinions about your beliefs. That's how I'll say it.
Your very strong opinions about my beliefs, because I too did not have a problem with her using tarot, because if it was me, I just would have been using runes instead, because that's what I'm attuned to. Mm-hmm. What I will say is that runes or even tarot is simply a tool used to sometimes gather your own thoughts, and can also be a tool then to make you think outside the box, which is kind of what I saw was happening in those episodes that included tarot. So I thought it was great. I thought it was a very interesting experiment to do as well. So just want to say that. I
didn't put a lot of weight on it because I don't believe in it. So I didn't dislike it, though. I didn't think she did anything wrong.
No, I don't know exactly what happened, because some of it was deleted or taken down by the time I got to it, but apparently there was some big to do about I have no idea, but anyway, it was just probably massive stupidity as usual. So I'm gonna chalk it up to that.
In my opinion, the creepiest or the weirdest part, they rented that cabin and they did a ritual in the woods by the cabin. They had a lot of strange events happen while they were on the front porch of the cabin, and while they were near the wood or in the woods, it got really weird, and I was actually kind of stressed watching it. I'm like, this is like a horror movie. Like it was the only part where I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And I was like pausing the fucking screen. I'm like, is there a goddamn goblin up there? Oh my god, where's a goblin? Where's a goblin? Where's a goblin? No goblins. Okay. Another second. Pause. And it really got me. And I'm like, that's what it is to do. paranormal, like, that's the stuff. That's the, I like it. I was so hyped.
That was cool. And I would say that is where I have to give kudos to the cinematographer, the videographer, the editing for that part specifically, the build up and the eeriness. And also I have to say the music for this is pretty fucking cool.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of good music.
So I'm going to say this, my closing part.
Okay.
Is that we learned in our theory and method in archaeological investigation is that you may be going down a very specific path in your own mind with very clear intentions and expectations of what you think you're going to find on a site. But what you discover instead is something completely different. It is still up to you to document that as a scientist, right? We just don't throw that evidence away because it didn't meet your theory or your hypothesis or your expectations, which is something that used to happen a lot in archaeology way back in the day. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's like the first tenet of any good investigation is that you recognize and are willing to talk about the other stuff that you found. And that's what's going to make you a great investigator too. That it's okay if it doesn't turn out how you want it to, because you learn something in the process.
So the thing with investigation, especially if you're looking at it from a scientific point of view, is to record everything. Because while you might not find what you're looking for, 10 years down the line, I might go to Hellier, Kentucky, and I might go down there with a large cage, and I might capture a goblin. We don't know, but I might use the information. I might study the Hellier documentaries and Greg Newkirk and Dana and Carl and Connor, and I might be like, they didn't get the results they were really looking for. They got really cool results, but not what they were looking for. I'm going to go down there, I'm going to look for this other thing, and it might, like, using info from them and other sources, like, you always have to remember that there's going to be a future, and that future is going to use information from the past, which you're currently creating and contributing to. So do a good job at doing your job and record everything with high integrity. That's my motto. I have many mottos, and that's one of them.
Okay, so Kiki's overall review is 4 out of 5 spooks.
I will also give it 4 out of 5 spooks. So the thing we want to talk about now for a little bit, because this is already a long episode.
This is episode number 10.
Ooh, wowzers! And the last episode of the year, yes! And the last one of the decade, yes! And the last one of the month, and the last one of the 10 first episodes. But
I think they get it.
Yeah, we're in the future. We're going to be changing up how we do some of the things in the show, because you guys have given us a lot of really good criticism, and we're gonna take that to heart. And we're gonna do better things. We're gonna reformat some of the things we talk about.
Basically, we're gonna scrap Enchanted Eats, and that might be something we add to higher Patreon levels if we decide to do it. We tried it out. It's one of our least listened to, honestly, and that's fine. And that's cool because it seems like you guys absolutely love talking about ghosts and hauntings and cryptids. So, especially cryptids in Pennsylvania. So we're just gonna do that. That's fine. It's great. We love it.
Wow, you couldn't have said that more like disappointed. You really,
what? I'm not
I loved it. We loved that you guys like these things.
I'm truly not disappointed because, quite frankly, that's a lot of work.
Look, I loved Enchanted Eats. Getting to be able to sit down and enjoy stuff somebody else made for me was the highlight of my day.
Well, maybe, okay, let's say this. Maybe I'll only do them for, I don't know.
Like one every now and then. We'll do...
Sabbats, as I've been told is the correct way to say it. Sabbat, which sounds a lot like rabbit. So I still like Sabbat because it sounds so much nicer.
Look, I have no idea. I don't care. However you say it, Kiki, that's the right way to say it. That's my motto. Unless I say it differently, and then that's the right way to say it. But we're reformatting some stuff. We definitely want your ghost or paranormal or creepy stories. Send them to us at the things Kiki will mention now.
Mission Spooky Podcast, all one word, at gmail.com.
Or message them to us on our Instagram if you wish. Or message to them on our new live Facebook page that I got up on my promised date of the 19th. Yep, 19th. It was up and running. Make sure you follow us on that too, because I will be the main person on there. So if you want to contact me directly, Facebook is the way to do it.
Yep, JC's Facebook, Kiki is Instagram and Twitter.
Yep, we're gonna be changing some stuff up, and we're excited about it, and we hope you guys are excited about it. Just so you guys know, I know I come at things with a lot of criticisms and comedic takes, but when it comes to your ghost stories, I'm not gonna be an asshole. We're here to be spooky. We're here to talk about spooky things, like it's our mission, because it is.
And something else that we are going to be doing, because we have so many friends who are musicians, is coming in January when we do our outro music. We're going to be featuring a song of our choice from a band or a musician that we have permission to promote.
Yeah, so if you are a band or a musician and want us to promote your music, get in contact with us. Hopefully before you die, though.
Of course, we always are promoting Forget the Whale.
Oh yeah, they're heroes.
Yes, they're our main band, but they actually don't have anything coming up for a little while, not until the end of January. So we don't really have a promo for them this week.
But listen to them on Spotify. Check
Absolutely.
them out on the things.
And they have a new song that just dropped, which I can
Should we pick it up?
Share. I hate you so much.
Me too.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Stay spooky and don't die. But if you do, contact us.
Use smoke signals. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna... Yeah, smoke signal sounds good.